She received a call from an unknown number every night, but what happened next will break your heart. Her phone lit up in the dark like an omen, the unknown number flashing across the screen at exactly midnight. At first she thought it was a prank, maybe some lonely stranger with the wrong number. But the voice on the other end said something only someone who truly knew her could say. Before we unravel this haunting mystery, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more stories, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments what you would have done if this had happened to you. Maya was a young widow, her life defined by quiet routines and a house that felt too large since her husband's accident. She was learning to live again, step by step, until one night her phone rang at midnight from a number that didn't exist. The ringing jolted her out of shallow sleep. She stared at the glowing screen. Unknown caller. Against her better judgment, she swiped to answer. Silence. Then, after a beat, a whisper. "Why are you still awake?" Her chest tightened. She dropped the call, told herself it was nothing, and lay back down. But when the clock hit midnight the next night, the call returned. Same number. Same whisper. This time, it said her name. She told no one. Friends would laugh, tell her to block the number, to stop watching late-night thrillers, to sleep with the light on. But Maya couldn't ignore it. Each night the call came, and each night the voice said something that pierced into her private grief. Words her husband once used, phrases he whispered only to her. Was someone watching her? Or was the impossible happening? Soon, what had begun as a strange interruption became a midnight ritual. She sat awake in the dark, waiting for the call she both feared and craved. Because every time she heard the whisper, she felt less alone. But obsession never comes without cost. The midnight calls continued for weeks, each one a thread pulling Maya deeper into the labyrinth of her own grief. She stopped asking herself if she should answer. She simply waited, holding her phone in her trembling hands as the seconds ticked toward 12. At first, the voice only spoke a few words, fragmented sentences, strange whispers like an echo from a dream. But then, one night, the caller asked, "Do you remember the blue dress?" Maya's breath caught in her throat. That dress had been tucked away in the back of her closet for years, the one she wore on her first date with her husband. She had never told anyone how he had laughed nervously, spilling coffee on himself, or how she'd kissed him goodnight in the pouring rain. Nobody knew, nobody but him. Her skin prickled with fear and longing. She asked the caller who they were, but the line always cut to static before she could get an answer. It was like a cruel trick, dangling truth before her only to rip it away. Sleep became impossible. She walked through her days like a ghost herself, co-workers whispering about her hollow eyes and trembling hands. Friends invited her out, begged her to see someone, but Maya brushed them off. How could she explain that every night she was being drawn into a conversation that felt both terrifying and holy? Then came the night the voice said, "I can see you." Her heart pounded as she whipped around, scanning the windows, the corners of her dimly lit living room. Nothing. Only the silence of her empty house. She pressed the phone tight to her ear, whispering back, "Where are you?" The caller chuckled softly. Not mocking, not cruel, familiar. Her husband used to laugh like that, a low sound from the back of his throat when she surprised him. Her fingers shook as she typed the number into search engines, call tracers, reverse lookup services. Nothing. The number wasn't real. And yet, every night, it reached her. One evening, determined to catch the truth, she hit record on her phone before answering. The voice that came through was distorted, but beneath the static she swore she could hear him, her husband. And then the words came, slow and deliberate. "I didn't die the way they told you." Her stomach flipped. Her husband's accident had been quick, they said. An unavoidable crash. That's what the police told her, what she had forced herself to believe. But if that wasn't true, then everything, the grief, the loneliness, the way she had tried to stitch her life back together, was built on a lie. The call ended. Silence. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark glass of her phone screen, wide-eyed, hollow. Maya began to dig, retracing the night of the accident, pulling at threads everyone else insisted were tied neatly. But the more she uncovered, the more the calls intensified. The voice spoke in riddles, warning her, guiding her, daring her to keep searching. And in her heart, she began to wonder, was this really her husband reaching from beyond, or someone alive who knew too much? Either answer could destroy her. Her world tilted. The second, deeper twist settled into her bones. This wasn't her husband reaching across death. It was a recording, a careful, cruel imitation of his voice, someone using old voicemails, conversations, and words they'd once shared to manipulate her. And only one person had access to those memories. Her brother-in-law. She realized the truth with sickening clarity. He hadn't just staged the accident. He had been calling her every night, keeping her trapped in grief, tethering her to his story so she'd never turn against him. But now she knew. The storm outside roared as if echoing her rage. She hung up the call, blocked the number, and dialed another instead, 911. Her voice didn't shake when she told them she had evidence, names, and recordings. As she ended the call, the house fell into silence. For the first time in months, she didn't expect the phone to ring at midnight. But deep inside, she knew the echoes of those whispers would haunt her forever. Because the most terrifying part wasn't that her husband was gone. It was that someone she trusted had used his memory as a weapon. And some wounds cut deeper than death.